Welcome to the WSSTL podcast series, where we explore the sustainable transport policies followed across the globe and livability. Hi, I'm Andas, and in today's episode, we are trying to explore Vienna, getting to know more about the city, the sustainable transport policies and practices, and the lessons the city offers to India. And to guide us through, we have a special guest, Professor Guenter Emberger, who is a renowned technical and transportation research expert from Technical University of Vienna. Professor, welcome to the show and glad to connect with you. So, we are beginning with a very fundamental idea that sustainability isn't just about policies, it is about daily choices. So, how is sustainability practiced in Vienna on an everyday basis, particularly in terms of transportation systems?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. I think this must fit together. We need some policies and we need measures which are necessary to implement the structure of public transport that people can use it in everyday life. So, for example, a city like Vienna provides a public transport infrastructure with a very good public transport system. We have a very dense network. It's very cheap and affordable, and therefore people also use it on a daily basis. I think this is very, very important. So, for example, in Austria or in Vienna, the distance between a public transport stop is less than 300 meters. So, nearly 95% of all people in Vienna have access to the next public transport stop within 300 meters. What we also provide is a public transport frequency in peak times between 3 to 5 minutes. So it's a very, very usable public transport system which helps people to make the daily decisions and to use it.
So, understanding from what you said, so Vienna has one of the highest public transport and active mobility uses, be it walking or cycling. So, what factors contributed to this change in mind from shifting from a car dependent city towards a sustainable transport?
As said, you need a little bit a long-term vision. And in Vienna, this process started already in the early 1900s. At this time, Vienna was a city of about 2 million inhabitants, and they started to create a tramway network. So they constructed a lot of tramways around in Vienna, and this was a good luck for Vienna. And then after World War II, as everywhere in the world, the car became dominating. It was really a serious problem. And in Vienna, there was also the idea to remove the public transport, the tramways, from the streets and replace it with buses. And we had good luck because sometimes it's said that Austrians are a little bit slow from the mindset or something like this. And we had the good luck that we were a little bit slow. We didn't remove all the tramways and replace it by buses, so we still have a very good tramway network. And then in the 1970s, there was the first oil crisis on one side, and there was the car problems came up around the world. And then Vienna started to implement or to construct the first subway system. So we had on one side a very good backbone network of tramways, we had the subway network, and what we also started at this time was to implement pedestrian zones. So at this time, in the very city center of Vienna, we installed the first pedestrian zones and made so walking and cycling very attractive for the people. And this is now, as said, the long-term strategy of Vienna so that we have this good luck.
That's quite a history, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this emphasizes that how particularly a system would treat or how you make one commuter feel about its behavioral shift and more choices. So this reminds me of the upcoming keynote session that we are focusing on, mainly focusing on your topic, sustainability, quality of life, and transport choices. So could you tell us why did you choose this particular topic and why do you think it is crucial for cities today?
I think Vienna could be a role model for other cities around the world. As said, we have a very high public transport usage. About 32% of people are using public transport, and more than 30% are walking, and about 10% are using the bike, and less than 25% or so are just using the car. And I think this is very, very important, and this could be a role model for the future of other cities around the world. what is very, very important is that there are forecasts that in the year 2050 or 60, about 60% of all people will live in cities. So we have to solve the transport problems in cities. And therefore, Vienna could be a role model because we have some experience about the public transport system.
So, talking about the future of cities, so could you tell us one fundamental change that cities need to make today to ensure transportation system becomes engines of well-being?
I said that it's very, 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 very important to know that the future challenges of cities are climate change, resource issues, say oil consumption, fossil fuel, water, energy. We have the problems of hot islands, and of course, we have also health issues. Other statistics say that in 2050, nearly the half of the population around the world will be overweighted. And the public transport system, or say a transport system in a city, can help to solve these health issues of cities. Therefore, it's very, very important that we create cities which are sustainable in the future, which depend on a sustainable transport system. And this is a system based on public transport, walking, and cycling.
So, thinking forward, I completely resonate with what you said that sustainability is the need of hour. So, summarizing on what you said, Vienna truly stands as a model for sustainable transport. So, what key lessons do you think that Indian cities need to adapt from the Vienna's approach?
I think one important issue is that you have to be aware that this is somehow a long-term strategy. So you can't change a system in the city or transport system in the city within 3 to 5 years. It's a long-term strategy is necessary. Then what you need is you have to implement an attractive surface public transport system. Don't put all the public transport system under the ground, put it on the surface because people should see it. Then you may have to make it affordable. For example, in Austria, public transport ticket for the whole of city of Vienna costs less than €1 a day. So it's very cheap compared to other products of the daily life. Then what you also need, and we have to be clear of that, that you need an attractive environment for walking and cycling. Because without walking and cycling, public transport will not work because people have to walk to enter the public transport system. I think this is very, very important. And of course, you also need on one side the hardware, the infrastructure, but you also need the laws and the regulations which help you to support the right behavior, say the sustainable behavior of walking and cycling. For example, in Austria, we have the law that if you go to a zebra crossing, the person who is walking has the right to cross the street. You don't have to wait for the car to stop, more or less. So some laws there which are very, very important to foster walking and cycling. And I think this is also has to be in the heads.
Yeah, so it's indeed if a transportation system is prioritizing people,
Yep.
then ultimately we would have a resilient and livable society, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, any final thoughts and messages for urban planners, policymakers, and everyday commuters like us, sir?
Yeah, first of all, I think we have to know that you need educated transport planners. You need transport planners who understand the needs of future generations are not biased by the god of speed, say it in this way. So we need some transport planners to think what is sustainable transport and how future looks like. And it's very important. We not only need educated transport planners, we also need educated politicians. They also have to know what is important for future generations. And what is very important, they also have to use the public transport and the walking facilities they're responsible for. And then they learn and then they will make the right decisions. And therefore, I think what is very important also is that you have always to monitor what happens to the modal split. So what happens to the usage of walking and cycling. So you have to be very, very careful that you implement measures which still keep the share of walking and cycling high. That's very, very important, I think. And what is also very important is that we have to think that a speed of motorized transport should not go above 30 kilometers an hour. So we have to reduce the speed in a city because then you solve a lot of problems. You solve the problem of emissions, of energy consumption, and therefore you make the city livable again. You increase the quality of living.
I think the symposium is the right platform where we all get together, from researchers to politicians and urban planners. So thank you so much, Professor. It was quite insightful discussion, and looking forward to meet you in person and learn more during the symposium days. Thank you so
Me
much.
too. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.